Alright. Hello there. My name is Sammy and welcome to another episode in my Stream Theory playthrough of Costume Quest 2. Let's continue right where the last one left off. So I know I had some technical difficulties that caused me to end the stream early last time, and I hope those are all fixed right now. I did try to make some changes that hopefully will cause the problems to go away, but we'll see. Can only test it, keep on testing, and keep on going. And if they still happen, then I do have some ideas as how to keep fixing problem. But until then, not much I can do. Until I can actually test for real. Okay, let's just get a stream underway. I'm Candy's fiercest predator. Alright, so right now we have our quest. Let's see what that is all about. Trick-or-treated. I have to trick-or-treat 18 houses now. Right off the bat, that seems like kind of a grind. I don't know if that's going to be a problem. How quickly these 18 houses will go. First house we went to was in fact a battle, so potentially we could be facing 18 or 17 more battles from here on out, which would seem a bit of a grind, especially right off the bat. It'd be a little bit of a grind to hit us with up front. I would think that sort of thing wouldn't happen until much later in the game when we're used to combat and we're doing it really quickly and efficiently. But hitting us with 18 houses to trick-or-treat right up front seems a bit of a stretch to ask, a little bit too much to ask. At least that's my initial impression. But as we do more houses, we'll see how that goes. I need to trick-or-treat at all the houses in the bayou before Little Bones will use his boat. And also looking for hide-and-seek kids. 3 more kids to go, and need to find a dupe of the Ghost Munch Creepy Treat card for this kid right here. So I already did this house here, and keep on going. So another thing I also want to discuss is I'm not entirely sure. I have a lot of topics on my mind about this game to talk about, but I don't want to front load my discussion of the game right up front. I mean, this is a stream theory playthrough, as I said, which means I will be analyzing and providing commentary on the game as I go, playing it live. But just because I have a lot of things to say about a game up front doesn't mean I should just front load that in the first few episodes and then have nothing to talk about in the following episodes. I mean, I'm going to be here for a little while. It's a shorter game, I know that, compared to the previous games I've done. But still, it'll take several episodes to go through, so I'll have plenty of time to discuss any potential topics. So I'm gonna take it easy. I'm not gonna force any topic. When I have something to say, when I have a spot of time, that's when I will weave in topics to discuss. If I'm reacting to something on the fly, that's when I'll discuss a relevant topic that'll come up naturally as well. But as far as the first few episodes and the first few hours of the game, we're still in the introduction, and I'm coming in with a lot of things to say right off the bat. And while it's important to get those details out of the way, it's important to flesh those out as well, because all those details that I know, the foreknowledge that I bring in, does color my experiences, does inform my perspective of the game. So it's also a matter of keeping track of those things I want to talk about as well. Finding the appropriate spots to talk about those things. I sure wish my mom would let me wear a costume. Alright, so one thing I want to say right now is that second house, we've learned that not all the houses will have combat. Some of them will be based on regular trick-or-treating, knock on the house, trick-or-treat, they give you candy right up front. Other houses will have those encounters, will be taken over by those monsters, and I believe those are the chrono beings that we saw earlier. We're taken over by those beings. And so it's a 50-50 shot, maybe, or I don't know what the odds are as far as combat versus straight up candy. But we'll see as we go. I need to be back. My dredging plan is clear. Is a clear moneymaker. How much candy do I want to invest? Can't buy land with candy. I have a system to convert candy to money. Just leave the business side to me. If you give me, say, 200 candy now, I will pay you back with crazy interest when my project is done. What do you say? Invest 200 candy with Baron? Do I even have 200 candy yet? I mean, that's probably a good idea, since we are doing a time travel system. If we go to the future and find the same kid, we'll get a bunch more candy back. But for the immediate future, I think I need some candy for a quest. So maybe, I'm not even sure I had 200 candy anyway. What if I just say yes here? Brilliant, this will be enough to get the permits. Just a few more years until I'm old enough to file for them. What? You cheated us. Be patient. You will get your candy back and then some. I keep good books. Okay, I guess I did have enough candy to do that. Investing in the future. That's another quest, apparently. I wonder if that Baron kid will ever give us our candy back. We need to find the Baron in the future somewhere. Okay, apparently did have enough candy. And I still have 300 left. Wow, I didn't realize. Alright, so battle or candy? Right up front. Trick or treat. Candy, okay. Get this candy away from me before I get fat. So, seeing as not all of the houses will have combat, maybe it's not so bad that we have to do 18. Alright, we can only find out by going to every single house. And the quest involves going to every single house anyway. All this candy is going to put more junk in my trunk. Okay. Also, there's candy in like these little random items as well. Gotta bash them, get the candy, trick or treat. And not a battle encounter, not a combat. So I guess there's some sort of deliberate suspense when you knock on a house. You don't know if there's going to be combat or not. And suspense builds when you knock on the house and then see if there's combat. But like either way, I'm totally fine with the outcome. I mean, if there wasn't enough combat, it would just be a boring quest, just going knocking door to door. If there was too much combat, then it would be too grindy. It would be a lot of work to do. Sounds like a combat encounter. Hopefully, with this first quest, they achieve a good balance. But the only way to find out is to do the quest. One thing I want to keep in mind is that this game, Costume Quest 2, is the first game that I've played that is actually not an M-rated game. It is an all-ages game. I don't remember the exact rating on it, but it's not M-rated. Let's do a regular. Do as much damage to one as possible. Get him out of the game. Okay. Alright. So she can do a special attack, but that is a heal. I probably don't want to do that just yet. So laughter is the best medicine. That's why the clown is the healer. Interesting enough. So as I was saying, with this game is for all ages, which means I probably want to change the rating on my stream. Right now I have it set to mature stream because I have been streaming M-rated games. Maybe I should have actually attacked this guy first, but he does also have more hit points. So that's something I have to keep in mind. I wanted to do that actually before the stream today, but I just wanted to get things moving. I was already running a little bit behind. I think now's maybe a good time for some healing. Let's get that done. That also reinforces a point I made last stream where I was mentioned how this game is very, very different from previous games I've played, and the subject matter itself and the audience it's for just very clearly lends itself to, very clearly shows a difference that it is for all ages. It is not a mature game. I guess that's one thing I want to talk about, the state of games and how so many games these days are for that mature audience, for a more adult audience, because, well, that is where the majority of the money is, right? Adults are working, they earn money, and so naturally you want to sell games to people who can pay you money, whereas all ages, you can target games for kids, but then you have to, like, hope that their parents will be able to buy it for them. They have less resources to be able to buy games for themselves. I'm pretty sure that means that the most games today, or at least the most of the visible games today, the ones that are larger and marketed to the most people, are sold to adults, and that's why you see a lot of. Oh man, that timing was off. That's why we see a lot of M-rated games. Okay, so this guy's almost done, so let's finish him off. I think next time I'll target that guy directly, because he is potentially the most dangerous one. Okay, might want to finish this encounter sooner or later. Sooner rather than later. Compare that to a medium like movies, where age gating in theaters and in retail stores is much more heavily enforced. That's why you see fewer movies that are rated R for mature audiences than, say, PG-13. In fact, whenever they can... Alright, I need to go to a healing station. Whenever they can, directors and studios will actively try to lower their rating to reduce violence, reduce, mature content in their movies, because they want to get a PG-13 rating, and PG-13 movies generally tend to make more money than R-rated movies because of the enforcement at the theater level and at the retailer level, where they will actively check for IDs, so that they'll check for the age of the people trying to purchase a movie. Whereas with games, there is a level of enforcement. I say there are age gates, but of course they're so easy to bypass those age gates. All you need to do is put in a different birth date, and you can easily say that you're 18 or older, and you can totally buy M-rated games, no problem. So for video games, there isn't an active incentive. There is no active enforcement for gating younger people to mature rated games. So studios will want to actively target adults, people with the money, so that they can sell more games that way. I mean, it would be the same as movies, I think, if there was a way to enforce that age gating on a wider scale, but in the more digital age that we have, when we have digital stores online, most of the age gating is done through just a simple online form that just asks your birth date, a birth date check, or an age gate check. Back in the day when games were sold primarily in retail stores, I mean, then there would have been more of an age gating. But in recent times, as games move more and more, sold more and more on digital stores, there is less and less enforcement of being able to sell M-rated games. So I think the amount of M-rated games, mature-rated games, has gone up in general. And I think that isn't... I might be wrong on that. I mean, I am not basing this on any statistics or anything. Basing this on just my own personal perception, reading of the landscape of games and the way they're sold. Let's do a good special attack here. But yeah, that's what I perceive is that the majority of games sold, as far as large games with a lot of awareness, are targeted for mature audiences, for adults who have the money to pay for games. Alright, so let's just keep targeting the middle dude. It's almost done. Oh, yeah, I gotta work on the timing on that one. Two guys posing now. That's also going back to my original point, why I've played 3 M-rated games thus far on my stream. Alien Isolation first, then Dark Souls, and then Assassin's Creed 4. I believe all 3 of them were M-rated games and those account for the majority of games that I end up playing. And I was just trying to give a reason as to why that might be. Alright, so... But I'm glad to be playing something different now. Glad to be playing a game with a very drastic tonal shift. Different audience entirely. It's probably the biggest change of pace so far. Not just in terms of the type of game, like the genre of game that I'm playing, but also the intended audience as well. Very different. See, I'm not entirely sure how important having a healer is, because after every encounter I can just go back to the water fountain and heal up entirely and cure poison as well. I guess it's only really a big deal in more extended battles against stronger enemies. That's when it'll come into play, where I will actively need a healing healer in my party. For now, it seems like I can get by without a healer and just making pit stops at the water fountain after every single encounter. Alright, so I see something up here, right? Question is, how do I get up there? That is interesting. Figure there's a way of getting up there somehow, but question is, how do I get up there? Doesn't seem to be any apparent way. That's like an environmental detail I'm seeing up front, where I might actually need to come back later with a different item, or different costume, a costume that'll allow me to reach higher areas of the map. Maybe that pterodactyl costume that I'm looking for right now, maybe that is what I actually need. And that would make sense, I think. But I'll just have to keep that in mind. Now, like I did this corner of the map. Everything here is done, and just keep moving our way slowly but surely through each and every house. So this is the next closest. Let's work on that. All right, so I'm already back up to 674. So it looks like giving 200 to that kid, not that big of a deal. By doing just this quest alone, I'm racking up the candy anyway. Alright, looks like another combat encounter. I'd really like to find another costume here because that candy corn is doing nothing in combat. Well, yeah, I guess it's a pure damage spawn, sure. But, yeah, I definitely would like to be more active rather than having dead weight. So we got 3 of those red dudes, crony combatants. However, one of them is still a higher HP, I guess a higher level version. Maybe I'll target down that guy anyhow. Okay. Alright. Continue to target down the middle one. Ah, so close. One thing to be said about the candy corn, definitely has higher resistance. Takes a lot less damage than Wren over there. The clown costume. That's alright. Since that one's gonna killed anyhow by the next attack, I think I might as well do super. Alright, it looks like we are able to skip past those cutscenes for the supers. They don't involve any sort of interactive element like the other regular attacks do. So after a while, you don't need to see the cutscene anymore, you can just skip past. So I'm glad for that, I'm glad to be able to skip past those cutscenes. Alright. Keep attacking here. Actually, I do have a super lined up from Monty. Superhero costume. Alright, so since that guy's almost down, I think I'll target the other one. Makes sense to do the super on the other one. It's at full health. Alright. Oh, I totally missed his attack there. The timing on that. Gaining experience and candy. And also, that'll help us level up soon enough. Actually, I should check my stats and see if I can actually affect my stats yet, because I know one of my characters leveled up. So, status, where is that? Right here. Okay, it doesn't seem like I can actually impact my stats directly. They just level up depending on what costumes I have and what item I have, I suppose. Whatever this is a regular trick-or-treat bag. The costume gives plus 14 defense. Yeah, it definitely seems like a more defensive costume anyhow. I wonder what this other second layer of stats is. 22 minus 2 plus 0. Yeah, I'm not sure what each of these layers are. Attack 20. Attack 80 or health 86. Alright, so yeah, it tells you on the right side. It's a little weird in terms of layout. I guess in terms of base, the base stats are on the left, and then adding any buffs, and then the total on the right. Okay, that makes sense. But why is the symbol on the right side? I guess it doesn't really matter. So health and attack. That's how I determine that. All right, yeah, that makes sense. Right now, that's how the stats works. Let's see. Equipped cards. These cards will be available to use during combat. So I have amazing attacks are much easier, and a minion's attacks damage itself. So I wonder when I will actually need to use these cards, or how many times I can use these cards. Are they one-time use, or are they just a type of card I can activate during combat? In each combat encounter, will I have access to these at all times? Or yeah, there's no way to know without actually trying it, without saying, okay, let's test it out, see if they're one-time use, and then they're gone forever, or if they are, well, you can use them once in every single encounter. But I can only have a certain amount of cards equipped in combat to then implement. So I have to be a little choosy and strategic with my equipped cards. I think that might be how it is. That's how it says here. My equipped cards are up there. So if there's something that you equip, it makes sense that they're not one-time use, but they're things you can activate in combat whenever you need to. So far, I haven't needed to use them. Alright, so I'm still looking for this pterodactyl costume. I actually have one piece. Yeah, I found it in a chest last time. So let's continue exploring, why don't we? We did that house. Also, one little detail to the environment here is that you can tell which houses that you've been to and which ones you haven't been to by the lights on the house. So if the house is still lit up, that's how you know you haven't been to the house. You need to continue trick-or-treating. Alright, how many houses do I have left? Let's see how much of a grind this quest actually is. 7 out of 18, so I'm not even halfway through. Okay, so knock on wood, but stream still seems to be up after several minutes in this area. So hopefully that means I am all set. Again, knock on wood. Wish me luck on that. Right now I'm feeling this is a bit grindy because facing the same types of enemies in this entire area. Like I'm gonna assume that this area will feature the same types of enemies. So I think there's just a little bit too much combat. I'm gonna try to, take these guys down as fast as possible. Get through this. So the main upside of this style of combat, where you have these timing-based maneuvers, this layer of interactivity to the turn-based system that we have here. So it's not just selecting menus that I'm doing right now. There is that element to it, but you have to be actively engaged in the combat system to do the maximum amount of damage possible. And I suppose you could just stick back and not care about the timing and just do the minimum amount of damage and still do fine. However, you're just being inefficient at that point. Alright. So that's the upside is the interactive element to it. You are actively engaged. You aren't just selecting stuff from menus like in a more traditional turn-based RPG system. Off the top of my head, like an example would be Final Fantasy or something like I don't know, one of the games I liked was Golden Sun. I don't know if anyone has played that game, but Golden Sun hasn't had another similar type of turn-based system, but there are several types of classic turn-based RPG systems like that where you are selecting attacks from menus and then watching them play out. Here, this is the type that adds another twist to it, where you're adding a slight layer of interactivity to impact the damage taken or the damage done during combat. It's not the only game that has done this. This Costume Quest was not the innovator of this, was not the originator of this. I mean, there have been other turn-based systems that have done similar things, like the ones I know of are right now is Paper Mario RPG and the Mario and Luigi RPG system. Like those Mario games that have been in RPG form, that have been... It's atypical to see a Mario game as an RPG, but when they have been done as RPGs in those series, they do this similar type of turn-based system where you not only have your attacks, but you also have interactive elements to each of your attacks to maximize damage, to boost your attack damage. So it works very similar to the way this game works, if you want to imagine yourself how that's set up. So I'm not sure if that game it was the innovator of that as well, but just my point is that there have been other games that have done this in the past, adding an interactive layer to the turn-based menu system here. And if I had to pick a way to do it, I would say that this is the way I prefer it. Always like a layer of interactivity. Right, so I pointed out an upside to that, so that suggests that there is a downside. And I guess the downside is that, you know, sometimes you just want to be lazy and you want to play a game that is a bit more passive in the combat. Maybe you don't have the dexterity skills to, you know, be actively engaged in the combat and make sure your timing is right every single time. So, you know, sometimes you just want a more passive game where you are doing the selecting process. So in that case, you would want a more traditional menu-based combat system where you just pick the attack and your character does the attack, and the only things that determine the attack's damage are your character's stats and whatever rolls, whatever random elements are in place to impact that. And that is of course a valid way of doing things. It's like it's not the case where now that this type of game exists, the type of turn-based RPG with a layer of interactivity, now that sort of RPG exists, the classic style of more passive menu-based selecting attacks doesn't need to disappear. Is I guess what I'm trying to say. And that there is or still a reason to have those types of games around. Was it the moaning that gave me away? All right, that's 4 out of 6 kids found. All right. I guess all I'm saying is that I personally prefer this style because I'm totally okay with being actively engaged in the combat. And that is to say, I am okay with it for now, I guess. If it gets too grindy and too much of a slog later on, then I might get a little tired of it. But only time will tell. Right now, I'm okay. I'm only feeling a slight level of grind to my quest here. On some level, I do want to have more combat encounters, even if it is a grind, because that allows you to level up your character even further. You only get experience if you do combat, not from collecting candy. I mean, the candy is more of a short-term goal for your current quest, whereas experience is a more long-term. More long-term in the game. Experience will always be there over the course of the game. The more you level up your character now, the more equipped you will be later on in the game for encounters down the line. So, in terms of grind, I mean, grind is something that I've had a problem with for these types of turn-based RPG systems. As long as I've been playing those types of games, grind has always been something that I like the least about this style of game. And how each game addresses that grind, finds ways to alleviate it, will ultimately determine how much I like those games versus disliking them. Looks like this one's an encounter. Alright. So I think one of the games that have solved that problem the most, solved the problem of the grind the most, is actually the game I mentioned before, which is Golden Sun. There was implemented a system with these little creatures called Jinn, which allow you to boost your character's stats in various ways depending on which Jinn you have equipped. And they essentially function as a proxy to just grinding out combat and leveling up your character. So, essentially, by collecting Jinn, you have to grind and level up a lot less. So, that actually... too early right there. That, I think, is a very elegant solution to solving the problem of the grind, is, giving you an alternate method of raising your stats. And I like this Jinn collecting method a lot better because it encourages you to actively seek out these Jinn in the world that they have created. So it actively encourages exploration. Alright, that was pretty good. Actively encourages exploration, which is another element to the game that, of course, is a positive thing to encourage. I mean, if the game is already trying to encourage you to explore its world, it already has a world for you to explore, then why not have a system that both causes you to want to explore that world and be rewarded for it with these Jinn, but also have that same system also level up your character and boost your stats and cause you to, not have to grind out your character as much. That said, I think this Costume Quest 2, this game in particular, has a similar sort of system. With the costumes, is that the costumes themselves are not tied to your character's stats, right? They are separate, so by finding and creating these costumes, that is another way of boosting your character's abilities, or changing them, adding variety. So, in essence, they work a lot like Golden Sun's Jin, in that they have that sort of dual purpose of encouraging you to explore the world, try to find these pieces of the costumes, make those new costumes, and then hopefully they will be better costumes for you to equip that will also give you stat boosts and newer abilities. Alright, I think I need to heal. Let's do the laughter as the best medicine. So that's what I'm perceiving right now. I might be wrong about this. Pretty sure that's the way this system works, based on my prior knowledge of playing the first costume quest. I believe the costumes aren't simply different, but they can also be generally better and worth equipping. In terms of the comparison to the candy corn, of course, the candy corn is useless, so you immediately want to change that costume. Alright, I think my timing on these attacks are getting better and better. There is a sort of window I'm observing to the attacks where you get a boost in a sort of sweet spot, but then there is an ultimate sweet spot, I guess, where you get the critical amount of damage. If you time it perfectly, right? Then you won't just get a nice, you'll get an amazing, and that's the most amount of damage you can do. Yeah, there's the amazing. So nice, I guess, boosts your attack a little bit more, and then amazing boosts your attack the most. So I need to work on getting the amazing boosts. Oh, and of course, not to forget, going back to the discussion on the grind, of course, the fact that it has additional boosts to your damage with the interactive element, allowing you to do more damage by timing your attacks correctly. That is in fact how you can... Well, let me get this pinata over here. That is in fact another way you can not directly get rid of the grind, but alleviate it somewhat by you don't have to boost your stats as much. If you get the timing down perfectly, then you will be doing, say, as much damage as you would if your timing is a little bit off and you have a more powerful character. So you can approach it two ways. You can either grind out your character and level it up to the point where you're stronger and not have, perfect timing, or you can not have to worry about grind and just focus on getting the timing down perfectly. You'll probably end up doing the same amount of damage and have a similar sort of stat experience, both in terms of offensive and defensive capabilities. Alright. Yeah, that's, like I said, that's my thoughts on the grind in these turn-based RPGs games where you have a leveling system and a stat-based system. And while they provide an interesting aspect to the game, they also have a big drawback that the games have to address. Is, well, are you just going to have a grind and say the players deal with it, or are you going to give them ways to combat that grind and minimize the grind? So ultimately, this comes down to the idea that, okay, you need to level up your character, and sometimes you might need to grind, but grind isn't fun to do. If it gets to be like, it feels like work, then it's not fun anymore. Now, I guess the ultimate solution to this is just make your combat fun to begin with. So I wonder, actually, which one is worse? the combatant or the crony machinist. I'm not sure which one is worse. Seems like this has more damage, but this one can like poison your dudes, which is pretty bad. I don't know, it doesn't really... In these early encounters, it doesn't really matter, I guess. Hey, I got an amazing. So as far as making your combat